in the urban settings in any city in this country, there's fast ways to make money on the street. I started out selling reefer in the park. Then I moved up to robbing people who sold reefer in the park. Then I moved up to stealing cars, and I just kept going. Before long, I was just in the streets full time. Everybody makes a run, but at some juncture, that run comes to an end. And mine came to an end in Middlesex District Courthouse. And they started reading off state sentences. What I was doing as a juvenile was one thing. When I turned 17 and became an adult, it took on a whole nother consequence. So I'm doing the same things I did just 3 months ago, but now I'm deemed an adult. And adults don't get the same leeway kids get. I have 5 brothers and sisters. We lived in the Dorchester section of Boston. And at the time, you was a kid. You played, you ran around the streets, you rode your bike, you came home after school, you ate dinner. And like most kids, that was my life. But the only problem was, for me, was my father had a habit of beating up my mother. So we went through the kicking the doors off hinges, screaming and yelling, lots of fights, black eyes. And my father's a big guy. So there was a lot of that going on. Then eventually, she got him out of the house and he was just gone. So I didn't really understand where it started, where it ended, and he was just gone one day. Single mom, 6 kids, working 2 jobs, not home enough. So the older kids were kind of in a groove where they were going with their lives and how to maintain. I'm second youngest. Me and my younger brother didn't have any guidance because my mother had to work all the time. That's just how it went down. Then when my older sisters went off to college, it really got bad because they were the ones who held us together. They would cook for us, clean for us, stuff like that, and just gave us instruction. So when my sisters went off to college, there's just me and my little brother. And you can't leave 2 teenage boys by themselves and expect good things to come out of it.
I used to say up to age 6, children belong to the mother and the father. After that, they belong to the world, because then they start kindergarten and 1st grade, so the world has an effect on who they are and what they do. Parents had it going on, and parents were the strongest people you had in your life. Well, every time you get in trouble, and I go up to your rescue, I get less and less strong. You take away some of my strength. Every time you would get in trouble, I'm to the rescue, I'm clear, I'm concise, I'm effective, I'm the great mom, but I lose a little bit of my strength. Well, Andre did that every time, and then eventually, that's exactly what the judge said. Your mom is great, the entourage is fabulous, they ain't helping, you ain't listening, you gotta go. All my power was gone. I had none. I could affect nothing.
The streets was where the men hung out. You got your respect by being in the street. You didn't get respect by going to school. That's what I did. And now I'm making money. I'm going to the clubs. I'm driving a nice car. Got some jewelry. The girls like me even more. So what I have to complain about? I'm now went from robbing drug dealers on the street to robbing drug dealers in their houses. So I'd find out where the drug dealers lived and go to their house and I rob them. Technically it's called home invasion, which is punishable by life sentence in jail, but I wasn't thinking that. And to get the cars to rob the houses, I would carjack people. When I got to the courthouse and it all went bad, they gave me a 7 to 10 year state sentence, 2 9 to 10 year state sentences, 2 10-year state sentences, and 2 15 to 20 year state sentences. And the federal government came in and charged me as an armed career criminal and gave me a sentence from and after the state sentence. Put me in a van at 18. That was all she wrote. I was done dealing. Walpole, state max. Prison is no different than the street minus a 40-foot wall. It's even worse because you have 1,000, 2,000 men in a confined space. All of them hustlers, all of them criminals, all of them looking to get over, and they can only get over on each other. People don't stop being hustlers, they don't stop being violent, they don't stop being whatever they are just because you put them in jail. So when I was placed in prison, I didn't stop wanting to rob people. I didn't stop wanting to make fast money. That was the way I knew how to live. So I'm just doing it in a different space. So my thinking was, I want to be, like everybody else before me, the toughest guy in the prison system. That was my goal. So I sat in the new man section of the state max prison and said, hey, I want to be one of the toughest guys in here. And when I came out of my cell, they put me in a regular unit, that was my focus. I got in with guys from my neighborhood. They gave me a knife, they taught me the rules. First 10 months, fights, stabbings, murders, every day. Is there something happening? Every day. Because you have 2,000 men locked in a confined space, angry, mad, and disgruntled. So it's chaos. And the way I grew up, I knew how to manage chaos. So I did extremely well as far as moving through the prison system, moving through the hierarchy, making power plays, plugging myself in, aligning myself with the people I need to align myself with. There's a drug trade, there's a gambling trade, there's extortion. There's a lot of ways to make money inside. Since I was a good thinker, as well as being a good tough guy, I did better faster than most. And in prison, you do something to somebody, everybody stays inside the wall no matter what happens. So you just have to be a little bit more thoughtful in your process of what you're gonna do, because it bounces back real fast. Most people don't understand. If I stab you in the street or in society, it's called attempted murder. They take me to court and they try me. If I stab you in prison, it's the same thing. Stabbing people does not become legal in jail. I had been shipped around the country, been in like 7 different federal prisons for being incorrigible and violent. I was taken to court, tried and convicted. I was then, by the institution, placed in segregation, which is a 24-hour lockup by myself for 2.5 years. Towards the end of my segregation sentence, some friends of mine got in a riot at another prison, and they were stabbed real bad. They forced the integration of the schools here in Boston. The other thing that really messed up or gave me a hard time when I was a kid was they had this busing law that came out. So the black kids would be bused to white schools, the white kids would be bused to black schools. And for a while it was pandemonium in the city because whites didn't want blacks in their schools. What the kids would do is stone the buses. And the funny part was, I didn't go to a white school. My bus just went through a white neighborhood to get home. The bus drivers gave us instructions on how to duck and hide on the floor. We used to try to pretend there was nobody on the bus when we went through the white section of town, and white kids knew we was on the bus even though we were hiding. So every day after school now, our buses would be riding home and the white kids would line up on the street and throw rocks at our bus. We'd ride down the street, windows are smashing out, call us niggas and spare chuckers and whatever else they can think of. Retaliation. Some friends of mine got stabbed real bad. And I got word that my friends had gotten hurt. So my response was, hey, if the white guys jump my guys, I'm gonna get the white guys in retaliation. So my plan was to stab the white guys on the unit with me. But before I could do it, God intervened. God just, for whatever reason, chose me to say, Andre, don't do this. Do something different. Go another way. And I was like, hold up. I respect God. But at the time when he ran up on me, my thing was, well, where was you when I was hungry at home? Where was you when I needed some guidance and some assistance? Where was you when my sister was smoking crack and stealing all my stuff out my bedroom? Where was you when the white kids were throwing rocks at me on the bus? All my life, I've been struggling. All my life, I've been stressing. Now you want to show up out of the blue and be like, go the other way. When I was stabbing black people, you didn't show up. God, you got to make this make sense to me. And I called him on it. Now all of a sudden you won't show up with instructions. Now I called him on it, but I listened. So I went back in my cell that day. I didn't stab anybody, went and sat down in my cell. And I just said, I didn't start reading the Bible. I didn't start speaking in tongues or levitating. No walls or windows opened up. I just went in my cell and I sat down. And that moment of intervention gave me the opportunity to think about something different. Because the whole time I've been in prison, I never thought about anything except being in prison. I was focused on being the #1 criminal in the prison system. That was my focus. So that's what I was going after. Nothing else existed. That space, when God intervened, gave me that time to get a new focus. So I said, well, what do I want? Nobody likes to be confined. Nobody should be confined. I said, first, I want to be free. But I realized just being free wasn't enough, so I had to get a plan. So I decided I want to go to college because college people tend to be successful. I want to be successful. So I said I want to go to college, and I picked Harvard University. It was the biggest thing I could think of. So when I came out of my cell the next day, I had a new focus. Becoming free, getting out of prison, and going to college at Harvard University. That was the crux of me changing, not my life, but my focus. I didn't switch into another body. I just switched my focus that day. Because I didn't change people.
I didn't believe it. You know, I was like, okay, so we're going to write letters. This is just a ruse. This is just something to mark time. He's got a big plan in place because that's how Andre usually works. Set you up and then bang, here he comes out the left. It became more of what he wanted to do. Well, Ma, can you do this for me? And it was a positive thing. It was to write a letter, to try to eradicate some of the bad stuff that he did and try to get on the good foot. He was consistently asking me to do positive things. And what I had to understand is that when you've been a terrible, terrible prisoner, as Andre was, and then you start doing things in a good way, they're all looking for the hook. They're all waiting for you to drop the bomb, to start doing the crazy things that your reputation has preceded you. And they waited a long time for Andre to start regressing and going back to being the old Andre they knew. He never did. It doesn't happen over a period of months. Because when you're in jail doing big time, a year means nothing. I started to believe that this is something he really is going to do. He's gonna follow through, and it started registering with them and with me that he was consistent and he wasn't gonna be deterred. And even though they tried to throw him little lefts and rights, and they do try to trick you up, he slipped but he didn't fall, and he stayed the course. I found all the good things that he did to affect his release, and it wasn't over a period of months, it was over a period of years. He really was affecting a change, and something had really occurred, and it was sticking with him. Yeah, I said, well, he really means to do this.
It wasn't just as easy as I said it and it was. I had that conversation with God and I got a new focus. I developed a new way of looking at things, a new way of processing, a new way of responding. And everything didn't have to be violence. I spent a lot of time in counseling, a lot of time in therapy, and a lot of time up talking to myself just to get my attitude right. I had a really, really bad attitude. And it was a 7-year process. And I just stayed on my course. I got my GED. I won 2 cases in court, got my sentence knocked down. I even made parole. But when I came home, it was Andre Norman, GED, sad story. And that's all it was. And come to find out, there was 600,000 guys got out the year before me with a GED and a sad story. So I was just like one of, I don't know how many millions of people who were just released from prison. But when I came home, I still had a focus to go to college at Harvard. So I signed up at the local community college. I took some classes. I stayed there for like a year, and I switched over to a private college. Then I switched over to a state college, and eventually I got accepted at Boston College. A friend of mine helped me pull some strings and make a call for me. I got an interview, and I was accepted into Boston College. I wasn't at Harvard yet, but I was on the way.
They say time heals all wounds, and well, you done your time in dark rooms where brothers cry out and others die out under full moons that they ain't seen in years, cause ain't no clear windows here, and it ain't no real kinfolk here. It's only wounds Only fiends and peers with the meanest fears. And in real life, you feel like your dreams is near, but reality is you just want to show that you're clean and clear and that your freedom's here. Now your screams and tears must be transferred into a means to hear the truth. And the truth is, you ain't going back. You'd much rather decide to stand and get your life on track. Ain't got no time for no gray areas. All you need is white or black, either right or wrong. You need to live and make sure that your life is long. Instead of you serving life alone with a wife at home, you'd much rather master your mind and make sure your might is strong. See, you're just another guy who's been given another try, transformed into a butterfly. So when I see you flutter by, your wings be like something I ain't never seen before. So unique, and when they get weak, God allows you to soar. And it's funny, because before, you was only a worm, crawling on your belly, trapped on the floor, with your mother in the back like, Lord, save my baby, because I know that he's made us so much more. But you only saw God as a no-touch Lord, which is why the streets just seem to have so much lore. You was caught like meat in the cold cut ore, trapped like in Iraq in this endless war. But this morning, you woke up smiling. This morning, you woke up cheesing, happy to be alive another day to die for what you believe in. This morning, you woke up smiling, not mourning or grieving about this evening, because every moment that you got for breathing seems like more than a good enough reason for you to smile. See, you are the example of a grown man transformed into an infant child. See, you're different now. You've been set free. You know, you get no credit. You're still debt-free. You've been given a designation to start a celebration, so if you can't find nothing to celebrate for, then please let me. Because this morning, the first morning in a long time that you woke up smiling, they say time heals all wounds. And well, brother, you done your time, so now your wounds are healed. And they transform themselves into wisdom.
When I came home, there was a lot of young gang members in the street, a lot of older cats who did time with me, who was in the street. A lot of them are just confused, looking for a way, but they don't know which way to go. I was good at helping people. Since I had a clear focus, I was able to help them get a clear focus or understanding. I'm good at manipulating people. Instead of manipulating people for bad, I try to do it for positive. So I spent the last 6 years of my life helping juveniles, young cats, helping old heads who came out of prison. Now I even started helping suburban kids who've never been to prison, who aren't going to prison. They too needed help, so I got to a place where whoever it was, if they needed help, I'd help them.
I'm not sorry it happened. It could have been something different, but a lot of his peers, like I said, they're gone. Kids who didn't go to jail, and kids who didn't do other things, they're not here anymore, caught up in the violence of the streets.
It was fun, it was exciting. Every day was a new challenge.
So he does have life, he's breathing, but he's still standing up and he's moving on, and that's good. So I kind of figure like all things happen for a reason.
I was teaching a class at Tufts University on the U.S. prison system, of course. And at the end of the class, I told my students, if you ever need me for anything, just call. If I could help somebody, I would. And that's been the way I've kept it since I've been home.